So first, I would start with the rejection. The rejection that all of us feel if we start hearing or listening around the source principles, because there are always parts that I also find myself saying, nah, this can't be true.
Hello and welcome to the Regenerative Edge. This is a podcast focused on creating a listening space for founders, directors, and changemakers who are tired of pretending that growing a business and healing the world have to be two separate things. This is not your typical business podcast. In the season finale, Moh is joined by Johannes from Unity Effect to explore what often comes up first when encountering the source principle: rejection. Together they unpack how our personal experiences, organisational histories, and inherited stories shape what we believe to be possible and what we resist. Enjoy.
This is something, so I would start with what are things that bring up strong emotions about this, because this is an indicator of where our also personal experience that could be different, that sometimes are not different because of trauma, because of privileges, because of all the different things that come together. And in organizations, I have a strange kind of interest for history in organizations. So I always like to listen to stories. I ask people about stories. Recently, when I told about the source principles, somebody was saying oh gosh, I've been part of this organization and has been around, I don't know, for 50 years or something. And always at the Christmas party, after 1 hour, all the people started telling the same stories. And it was so boring. And after 2 or 3 years when I was part of the team, I started telling the same stories. So noticing is this a cool story that we're telling, and not to rebrand it, because you can't. You can't rewrite the source history, but sometimes the stories that we tell then cover something up.
I love them.
A founder leaving, a conflict or something, and actually this leaves traces in the creative field. And so, what are histories that are strange? What are histories that are great? Or at Unity Effect, we're right now speaking about a new chapter for Unity Effect. So we're realizing that the story that we have told ourselves about Unity Effect is not working. Yeah, it needs to shed.
This is kind of what's coming up, Johannes. Is it's almost and I'm questioning what responsibility does the source have in hospicing that idea as well, if at all. But it sounds like, especially with and I'm sure you're aware, but we've been exploring the world of decolonization and have been starting to embed that into our educational programs as well for marketeers and leaders really in organizations that are connecting the dots. Because one of the biggest things that I started to realize over the past few years is that the source of marketing was, to many extents, elements of colonization, and imperialism.
This isn't just theoretical. In our own work as marketers at Zebra Growth, we've had to reckon with how patterns of colonialization show up in comms, and what it means to respond to them. If you're curious to explore this further, our Decolonizing Marketing course creates a space to sit with these questions and to begin to work with them more consciously.
And so I've kind of had to befriend it and accept it and feel the shame and feel the guilt and feel the worry, but also understand the importance of recognizing it and understanding what is my responsibility in that then, and what do I need to kill in that sense as well. And I think that's so beautifully expressed in an organizational. How many times do we do things in organizations 100 years later just because there isn't that recognition of that idea connected to a source, connected to a time, and also a recognition that ideas also have a life cycle. And death is sometimes needed and necessary into evolution. And maybe that's even a beautiful way also to connect it with that.
Yeah. So just another personal story around that. I have a project right now that I've been doing for 10 years. And over the past years, I've already noticed it's closing. But so you're also speaking about sort of lineages.
Yes.
I know that I'm the global source of this because this is an organization and I was the one, let's do this organization. but it is connected to another project where there's somebody else as the global source. Now, in the past weeks, I got a call from this global source saying, Johannes, I really feel that we need to stop this because it needs to go into a different shape. And I felt like you would pull the plug, because she was making clear that I'm closing consciously now that creative field. And as I knew I don't have anything else to connect it to, it will lead to also me closing that creative field. And the idea is to close it consciously, because otherwise everybody in that organization or around that might still be like, does it still live? Do we still want to do something, or maybe start even something, and might be frustrated by it not blossoming, by it not thriving? And so, and I've actually noticed that I've done this already some years ago, also after a phase of 10 years, I closed an initiative that I started myself. And yeah, sorry to say that way, it just sucks. Because you're the creative source of this, and you invested a lot of time, and I really feel that it's time to say, in that way, it's not going to continue. New things will come up, but I'm not investing my energy anymore in this kind of. So also, there are already a lot of great people working around of grief in organizations. And for example, then really, if you close a project, part of honoring that is also honoring that those sources related to it will feel a different kind of intensity of closing it than just somebody saying, I did a nice job on it. And sometimes that closing even takes time. So I know that now, I know we will close, but it might take some more years. So, and maybe as you asked for practical applications, so I was also skeptical about source principles first. And I just really started finding a source nearby. So in any kind of organizational context, in any kind of collaboration, in any kind of relationship, and shifted gears in the sense of, I know that you're the source. I don't know whether you know, but I see it from the history. What happens if I now do everything for you to clarify your vision, to clarify what we want to do, and then add things that I feel are complementary, additional, and things like that. And just I noticed that what I described earlier, this energy shift of suddenly people like bright eyes, laughs, smiles, because you don't have to talk about the source principles. You don't have to also, sometimes it's difficult to acknowledge that you're the source of something. As I mentioned, it can be painful, it comes with responsibility. But what I just invite people to is, in a context that's suitable, maybe step into this idea of, I have the feeling that, for example, Moh here is the source of this podcast. Can I do something that like supports his energy and like goes into that, and how could this look like? So, and then, as it is coming from a complex background, find out things that are true and helpful for you, and find out what doesn't work for you, because not everything here is universal. Acknowledging that a lot of people have put work in this, and there might be something in it, and that's why, coming through also the rejections can I personally made peace with a lot of past collaborations because I acknowledged the source dynamics and was like, I know my part. I now also understand what happened with the sources and with the creative field. I still might need some time to make it settle, but I can now step into new collaborations from a different angle.
Thank you for listening to The Regenerative Edge. This marks the final episode of this season. If something from this season has stayed with you, we invite you to continue the conversation with your team, your community, or within your own practice. The Regenerative Edge is stewarded by Zebra Growth, an agency working to shift the marketing landscape for intention and practice. towards a regenerative approach that nurtures resilience, cultivates connection, and redefines what success can mean. This podcast is also nourished by the talent and insight of our foundational partners, Unity Effect and Tandem, who you'll meet throughout Season 1. Walk to the edge with us. The bridge is wide enough for all.